SuperMicro Computer was up 2% last week. It's up 33% on the month and up almost 15% in the last 3 months. But over the year, it's down about 50%. So it is in an uptrend, and I think it's presenting a possible trading opportunity with great upside. So in this video, I want to talk through how this trade might play out and offer some ideas on how you might set up for the trade. Let's take a look. Now, if you enjoy my analysis of SMCI today or other stocks on my channel, you might also enjoy my trading tips. Consider joining my email newsletter where I send you professional trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Check it out. So last week, SuperMicro Computer was up 2%, and it's also up around 33% on the month and 14% over the last 3 months. So it is trending upwards. And we can see on screen, since that low of around $17 back in November 2024, SMCI has been trending upwards. And you can see I've added a trend line here underneath this price trough here and these two levels here, confirming it is in an uptrend. And you can see the progressive higher lows and higher highs. However, right now, since this peak here of $66 in February, it has pulled back towards the trend line here to find support. And more recently, in the last 4 weeks, it created this peak here around about this key level of $48. And in the last 3 weeks, price has now started to go sideways and sort of consolidate. So right now, I think SMCI is at a critical level and price could go either way. And you can see on screen, I have marked up these colored boxes just to indicate where I think these key price zones are corresponding to the key price levels. So you can see I've marked up key levels of support and resistance. So from the top, you can see here, I've got that all-time high of 123. Underneath that, I've marked up $100. Underneath that one, I've got the level of $66, which corresponds to the most recent peak here in February. Underneath that one, I've marked up $48, which corresponds to the peak in the first week of May. And underneath that one, I've got 36, corresponding to the peak back in August 23, and also this price action through here over sort of the last 6 months. Underneath that, I can see some support around $28. And you can see here, it has found support a few times, and that does correspond with this confirmed trend line. Now, underneath $28, I've marked up $17 because that was this level here where SMCI fell into in November 2024, and since that point has moved up and is now trending up. So based on that price history and all these key levels, we can now see the current price action of SMCI is trading above this level of 36 and underneath this previous price peak of 48. So it's in an uptrend, it's making consecutive higher lows. And now the price action is at this sort of crossroads here. It can either move up and break this level here, or perhaps it might fall further and test this level of $36 here. So price action this week hopefully will give us more confirmation whether the buyers or the sellers are going to take control of the price of SMCI and potentially move it up higher this week to challenge this level here, 48, or perhaps sellers will be too strong and price might move down to test this level of 36. Now, if we look at the daily chart for SuperMicro, we can also see there is a short-term support level for this stock around about this level here of $39. So we can see there's a little price peak back here, back in January 2025. It met resistance. And then As we look across the chart, we can see a few times it came close there, came close there. We can see also here, this was a level where price created a gap here at around $39. And it's come back to fill that gap. And you can see here, there was some support on Friday, May 23rd, and also Friday, the 30th of May. Two occasions where SMCI has found support short term. It looks as if that level is around about $39. Short term, that would be the first level price would have to break if there's a more bearish scenario going to unfold and price is going to fall a bit further into the stronger weekly level of $36. We'll need to watch this level of $39 over the next few weeks and see whether that one can hold. If it can hold, there's obviously more likelihood that price action will be more bullish and price will start to move up towards the key level here of $48. So back on the weekly chart, you can see I've marked up that level of $39 there with a dashed line, just to show that it is short-term resistance, but it's applying to the daily price action. It's not as strong as the weekly, but nonetheless, you can see that over the past 3 weeks, it has offered some support for the price action. Based on what's happening with SMCI at the moment, what does the possible trading opportunity look like for this stock? Let's take a look. So we know right now it's trading in between this level here of 36 and 48. Ideally, what we need to see first is a break towards the upside and price to break this $48 peak that was created back in the first week of May. This would confirm the buyers are in control and there's more likelihood that the price is going to keep moving up. And once it breaks that level, potentially it's going to challenge this level of $66, which corresponds to the peak here. If it goes through 66, then it could well keep moving up to that next level of $100 and on to the all-time high. So that's the potential upside. But what about the downside risk? Well, if the price met resistance here and didn't break through and price started falling away, it first would have to break this short-term level of 39 and then 36. The next level then, if it became more bearish, would come down to this level here of 27, and then falling through there, it may come down to challenge $17 once again. So that's a possibility, but I think that's highly unlikely. I think SMCI right now is looking bullish, and I think a more bullish scenario is on the cards for this stock. And I say that because we can see we've got consecutive higher lows, we've got a confirmed trend moving up, and it does look as if even if price comes back and tests this level here, 36, you've got that key support price level, and you've also got the trend line moving up in that direction. So there looks as if there is strong support around this level if price falls away in the next few weeks. However, it might not fall away. It might maintain where it is, find support at that short-term level of 39 and start to move up. So, which price levels could you enter SMCI to take a trade? Let's have a look at those. So you could enter exactly where it is now. You could enter in this sort of zone. That would give you a potential upside to $66 of around 60%. And potentially you could put your stop loss around about, this key level here of $36. So if you did that, you'd have 60% to that level of $66 and you'd have a downside of 12%. Offering a risk to reward ratio of 4.88. However, I think there's probably a lower risk entry point, and that would be entering above this level here of $48. You could put the stop loss here around about that $39 level, the short-term support level, and once again you could target this price level of 66. That would give you 37% upside to this key level, and 18% towards the downside, giving you a risk to reward ratio of 2, which is fine. And you could play around with that stop loss, put it in between, perhaps choose 10 or 15%, an arbitrary figure. But potentially that short-term level there of 39 could offer short-term support. If it fell through there after you entered the trade, then it's more than likely going to fall down to find support at 35. Stage one of that trade, entering at this level here, would give you 37% upside to 66. Now beyond that, if it keeps going, you've got over 100% to that key price level of $100. And if it keeps pushing up and marching forward, you've got about 156% to the all-time high, which might unfold over the next 3 to 6 months. So right now, overall, SMCI is looking really good. It's looking bullish and it is trending upwards. I think there's a number of rules you can consider to enter this stock and potentially take a medium to long-term trade. But I think the most obvious one would be to use Dow theory. We've got this price moving up here, it's created this peak, it's now pulling back. And I think once price does break through this level of $48, and potentially I want to see price action close above $48 for the week, and that would constitute an entry the week after, confirming, for that previous week, the buyers are in control, and the probability is that price will keep moving up towards that $66 target. And that gives you a clear path to around about 38% upside to that first level. Overall, I think this is a good opportunity, but let me know what you think in the comments. Are you bullish on SMCI? What are your rules that you might use to enter this trade? SuperMicro Computer was up 3% last week. It's up 6% in the last 3 months and up almost 30% in the last 6 months. It is trending upwards and there is a possible trade opportunity with an upside of 156%. So in this video, I'm going to look at the stock in terms of technical analysis and my thoughts on a future trading opportunity for this top tech stock. Let's take a look. Now, if you find value in my analysis of SMCI today or other stocks on my channel, you may also find value in my email newsletter. If you subscribe, I'll send you trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. I'll leave a link in the description below. Check it out. So SuperMicro Computer is up 3% last week. It is trending upwards and it looks as if there is a possible entry into this tech stock at around about this price peak here, which potentially could give you an upside of over 150% if you were to trade this stock up until this level up here, the all-time high of 122. So I want to look at this trade opportunity today and give you some ideas of what rules you could use to enter this stock and perhaps maximize the returns. Now, zooming out on the weekly chart for SMCI, it's clear there are some key price levels to watch out for in terms of support and resistance. The first one is clearly the all-time high at 122. So let's mark that up as a possible price target for the future. Now, underneath 122, we've also got a level of around about $102 here where price peaked before falling away. So let's mark that one up. Underneath 102, we've got this low here created in April 2024. That's around $67 and also corresponds to the most recent price peak for SMCI created in February this year. So that could be a target for the future to offer some resistance or support once price gets above it. Now, underneath that level, I want to mark up the most recent price peak here created about 6 weeks ago in week commencing the 12th of May. That peak is this bar here, which is around 47.80. So I'm going to mark that one up. And underneath 47.80, I want to mark up this level here corresponding to this peak created in August 23. And also you can see SMCI did find some short-term support here and also here before falling away. So I want to mark that one up as well. That's around $35. And underneath $35, I want to mark up this level here where SMCI has found support on multiple occasions. All the price action through this period here, October 2023. So I want to mark that one up. That might offer support in the future. And finally, I want to mark up this significant trough down here at around $17. So now, looking at this weekly chart for SuperMicro Computer, we can see that this stock is currently trading above this key level of $35 and underneath the price level of $47. Now, zooming in on the weekly chart for SMCI, it's clear that this stock is trending up. Since this significant trough back in November 2024, around $17, the stock has been moving up, creating higher lows as it's been moving up. So you can see it traded up to this point here, pulled back, created a higher base than this level here before creating a second peak at $66. It's pulled back since then. Once again, it's created a higher low before creating the most recent peak here of $47. Now, right now, it looks as if it's having a small pullback and consolidating sideways. So we can see here, the last 4 weeks, price hasn't done much. It's sort of moved sideways. However, the price hasn't fallen below this level here of $38. It's tested it on this week here and also here, and it came close here as well in the first week of June. So there seems to be some short-term support for SMCI around about this $38 level. So let's zoom in a bit further on the weekly chart, and I do want to mark up that $38 level as possible short-term support for this stock. So looking a bit closer now, we can see that it's above this 38 level and it's underneath this 47 level. It does appear to be sort of tracking sideways in the past 4 weeks. So right now, based on the price action over the last 4 weeks, it's not clear yet whether SMCI is going to actually move downwards to test this level and possibly fall into trendline support, or buyers are going to come in and actually push it up to break through this level here of around 47.90. So right now it's sort of just consolidating sideways, going across in this pattern. So since it created this peak and fell back into this support of $38, it has moved up slightly, and that's a positive thing. But it's not clear yet whether price is going to break through this level here or perhaps come back down to test $39 once again. And if it falls through that level, it might fall into the trend line support around $35. Now we can see, looking at this bar here, this is this week's bar, which only includes 1 day of trading. So it'll be interesting to see what this bar does over the next 4 trading days. Will the close this week be higher than these 2 peaks here, or will it come back and perhaps get closer to this level? So this week's bar will give us more directional bias on whether SMCI is going to move up and challenge this level here, or the selling will be too strong and it's going to fall a bit further and find support around about this level here. Either way, the uptrend will still be in place. But we just have to wait a bit longer before potentially taking an entry on this stock. And for confirmation that SMCI is moving up and price is going to increase, we need to see that price is going to take out this peak here of around 47.90. So essentially we're saying the price action needs to do this. It needs to come up here, pull back, find support, and then convincingly break out above this level, taking out this previous peak, showing that the buyers are committed to take the price higher. So once price breaks through this level here, this would confirm an entry for this stock. and price is more likely then to move up to this next level of around $66. So if you were to take an entry at this level, what sort of upside potential is there for SMCI over the short to medium term? So potentially you could enter at this level here using Dow theory, and the upside potential would be around 40% to the first price target of around $66, and that's this level here. If price exceeds this level and buyers come in and they want to take the price higher, the next obvious level would be the price target of around about $101, corresponding to this level back here. And if it keeps going, then it could challenge the all-time high at around 122. And that would be a total potential 155% profit from that entry level. So a great potential on offer. And in terms of your risk management, you could place the stop loss at this key level here of $38, corresponding to these price lows here. So this would give you an overall risk to reward ratio of 8.29 for the total trade. And I think this might play out over 6 months. I think short term, you can probably expect price to get somewhere close to $66 over the next 12 weeks. So that's the upside. What about the downside risk for SMCI? So if price gets rejected at this $48 level again, then we might see price action like this. Price might move up and challenge this level once again in the next few weeks, get rejected, and then selling pressure might take the price back down, breaking this level here of $39, and perhaps price will fall into the support line of the trend line, close to this $35 level. So maybe it'll find support between $35 and $38. Now, if that trend line support is broken, then the downside risk is that SMCI might fall further into this level here of around $25, and past then possibly into 22. So that's the downside scenario. However, right now, the way that the price action is unfolding, I think that scenario is unlikely, and I'm more bullish on SMCI. I think it's going to move up in the next few weeks and challenge that $47 level and trigger a possible entry for that trade that I just discussed. So overall, I'm bullish on SMCI. I think the trading opportunity is on for this stock. I do think the entry will be above this level here of $47, and the potential upside is definitely worth taking the risk. We've got two clear targets, $66 to here and $101 to here, and possibly to 122 for the all-time high. And we're also buying with support at this level here, $35, in conjunction with the trend line support. So in terms of the risk to reward, it's definitely worth taking this trade if it can prove itself and if buyers take the price above this entry level here. SuperMicro Computer is up 7.8% last week. It's up 4% last month and up 46% in the last 6 months. So this stock is looking bullish. It is moving up. It's moving above a confirmed trend line, is setting up for potential high value trade. So in this video, I want to talk about a price analysis for SMCI stock and some trading rules that you could use possibly to enter this stock. Let's take a look. Now, if you find value in my analysis of SMCI stock today or other stocks on my channel, you may also find value in my trading email newsletter. If you sign up, I'll send you professional trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. I'll leave a link in the description below. Check it out. So SMCI stock is up over 46% in the last 6 months. In the last year, it's down over 50%. So it's looking bullish right now. It's trending up, but it's trading underneath 52-week highs, presenting a great future trading opportunity. We can see since this key price peak here of $123, which was created back in March 2024, SMCI has been sold off. until it found support in this significant price trough around $17. And since that time, back in November 2024, price has steadily moved up. It's now trending upwards and looking bullish. And you can see I've marked up a trend line underneath the price action, including the price trough here and also these two troughs here created this year back in April. So you can see it is creating higher lows, suggesting the price wants to move up, and it is trending up. Right now, in the last 4 weeks, SMCI is tracking sideways since price hit resistance around about $47. But it does look as if now in the last few weeks it wants to move up higher, particularly last week where it opened around 42, traded up to 46, and then closed near the high at around $45. So last week's bar was bullish. And it does look as if this week potentially it might challenge this price level here around $47. So how could this trade play out? What sort of profit potential is available for SMCI stock? Before I talk about some rules you could use to enter this tech stock, I want to mark up some key levels to map out some profit targets. So first up is the all-time high, which is around 122, created by this peak back in March 2024. Underneath that level, we've also got a little peak here around June 2024, and this is around the psychological level of $100. So let's mark that one up. Underneath that level, we've got this price trough here created back in April 2024. This is $66, and you can see also, if I just mark it up, price hit resistance also here at February this year. So 66 is a key level for SMCI. We've got it finding support here and also finding resistance here. Underneath 66, we've got this price level here of around about $50. So we've got 50 there, we've got 48 there, and we've got around 48 here in this peak. So I'm going to mark up 48 on the chart. That level could be the breakout level we need to see price close above if SMCI is going to move up into this zone here in the next few weeks. Underneath that, I can see a level of around $39. And this is corresponding to this little peak here in 6th of January this year. There's some support here, and also the last few weeks you can see that since SMCI created this peak of $48 in the second week of May, there was some selling pressure. It did pull back, but the sellers haven't been able to take the price lower than just under $39. So you can see the low for this bar here was $39.11, and the low for this bar was $39.05. So I'm going to mark that up. It looks as if that $38 to $39 level is offering some short-term support here for SMCI. Underneath that level, we've also got some price support around $25, corresponding to the trough here. And then under that level, we've got the significant price trough created in November 2024, and that's around $17. That really is the key trough after this key peak up here, where SMCI, it really had a bullish move from this area here, December 2023, created the all-time high and then got heavily sold off, finding support at this key level of $17 in November last year. So basically over the last 6 months, SMCI has been trending up, but it's still well away from that all-time high. You know, you've got probably 150% to go from this level here back up to the all-time high. So this is the potential available for a future trade with SMCI. So based on these key price levels, we can see SMCI stock now is above $39, maybe finding support here, and it's underneath this key level of $47.48. So last week was a bullish week We saw price open at around 42, trade up to 46, and then close just under the high at around 45.30. So a bullish week last week. And it does look as if now, if I zoom in, it does look as if now that this could be a support level for SMCI, and we might see this week that price wants to move higher, potentially challenging this key level of 48. And if it does break above this key level and close for the week, you could enter using Dow theory for a potential trade. Effectively, looking at the price action of SMCI, since that significant trough, it's moved up to create this peak. It's pulled back and found support at $25, moved back up once again to create this peak of 66, come back into the trend line support around $27, and most recently created this new peak of around $48. It hasn't fallen underneath this level here. So what it might have done, and what's highly possible and still possible, it could fall back to this level here of $33, corresponding with the trend line support. It looks as if it's not going to do that right now. It looks as if it has found support at this key level. And if that is support, and if the buyers come back in and they want to take the price higher, we're going to see price action take out this level in the next few weeks if buyers are keen to take this price higher and challenge this level of $66. So potentially the rule that we can use to enter SMCI on confirmation is Dow theory. Essentially we're saying price has fallen back to this level here, it's created a new peak, it's fallen back to find support, and effectively it's created a higher low here, a higher low than this one. So if it moves up from there and then it creates a higher peak, so a higher peak than this one, that would constitute an entry rule. And you can see, based on the way that the arrow is unfolding, we've got a trend emerging. This short-term trend is conforming to this medium-term trend, which, if I zoom out, is conforming to the longer-term trend. So SMCI is bullish long-term, it's also bullish medium-term, and also in the shorter term, it does look as if it wants to move up. And of course, the performance are all green over here. Whether you look at it short or medium term, it's moving up. The only one that is red is the 1 year performance, and that obviously creates the trading opportunity, trading it back towards that all-time high of 122. So an entry using Dow theory on this key level of $48 could give you a potential profit of trading up to 66 of around 38%. And you could place your stop loss at that key level of 38, or perhaps a bit tighter, arbitrary 15% perhaps. You could use that low of this bar last week, which would be 13%. So overall risk to reward ratio would be around about 3, which is great. If price keeps moving up, it trades through 66 and perhaps moves up and finds that target of $100, then you've got over 100% profit potential on a medium-term trade. And of course, it could keep going up until the all-time high of 122. So overall, the potential profit for this stock is 152% over the medium to long term. And that would give you a risk to reward of over 11. So that's the bullish scenario for SMCI. It does look good at the moment. Whether you look at it short, medium or long term, it's looking bullish. And also it does tie in with good fundamental performance too. There's also around about 20% short selling interest in this stock. So if this price does break above this level, it might trigger those short sellers to have to buy back the stock and cover their positions. And this could be a catalyst to really help SMCI push up quickly to that $66 target. So what about the downside risk for SMCI? What happens if price hits resistance here and perhaps falls away? It's possible that SMCI might find resistance here again. It might move up again this week in the next 2 weeks and find resistance once again at $48. And sellers might be too strong. They might sell off the stock and it might test $38 for a second or third occasion. Now, if the selling's too strong, then it might come back and find support a bit lower down at the trend line. Could be around $35. If that doesn't hold and the selling's too strong, price could fall further. And the next obvious point of support would be this key level here of $25. So that's a bearish scenario for SMCI stock. Short term, it's going down, but in the bigger picture, this wouldn't be a huge sell-off. Effectively, price would have almost traded sideways from August 23, so around about 2 years, with a big peak and a big dip in between. However, based on the price action, I think this bearish scenario is unlikely. I think the probability is that SMCI is going to move higher. It might not be immediate in the next few weeks. It might take maybe 6 to 8 weeks, but I think the probability is that SMCI is going to move higher. SuperMicro Computer was down 10% in yesterday's trading session, based on the news that the company would be issuing and taking on $200 billion worth of debt in the form of convertible notes. Now, investors did not like this news and the stock was sold off heavily yesterday. So, big question is, if you're holding SMCI, should you sell? Should you buy the dip or should you wait for confirmation? Let's take a look. Now, if you find value in my analysis of SMCI stock today or other stocks on my channel, you may also find value in my email newsletter. If you subscribe, I'll send you professional trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. I'll leave a link in the description below. Check it out. So SMCI stock was down 10% in yesterday's trading session, based on the news that it's planning to offer 2 billion convertible notes with a plan for a $200 million share buyback. So a news article by MT Newswires has summarized this news announcement, and it says, and I quote, SMCI said Tuesday it priced a private placement to qualified institutional buyers of 2 billion principal amount of convertible senior notes, which will be due in 2030. The initial purchasers have been granted a 13-day option to purchase up to 300 million of additional amount of notes, and the notes will be convertible. The notes will be convertible at an initial rate of 55.20 per share. So the net proceeds of this operation estimated to be around 1.96 billion to 2.26 billion. And these funds, SMCI claim, will be used to fund certain capped call transactions, share repurchases, and for general corporate purposes, the company said. So in short, SMCI are taking on 2 billion worth of debt to hopefully grow the company. And the company has done this before in 2024. So it's nothing new and it's quite a common practice in order to raise capital. However, often shareholders don't like companies taking on more debt. They see the risk increasing for their investment. There's also a risk that down the line, shares could become diluted, thereby reducing the overall value. Of course, the most important thing is how investors react to this news. And we can see, looking on the daily chart, that the reaction was negative. The stock traded down to find support at around $40. So it fell around 10% from the close on Friday, which was around about $45. It opened on Monday at 43. The news was released and the stock traded down to $40. So big question is now, is that the end of the fall? Will it find support around about $40? We just don't know yet. We're going to need the price data for this week to confirm whether the sellers are going to remain in control, or perhaps it's a one-day thing. Buyers are going to come back in, see value at $40, and the price is going to rebound, back up to this level here. Now, whilst the drop of 10% is not insignificant, it's not huge either, and SMCI is relatively volatile and can move 10, 15, 20% in a weekly session. You can see at the moment we've got this week's bar forming with just 1 day of data as I'm recording this on Monday. So you can see that for the week it opened at 43. The news came out and it was sold off, dropped about 10% to $40. So $40 could be a support level, or we might find tomorrow or over this next week the price may be sold off more, and price might find support at this key level of $38. We just don't know yet. I think this week will be interesting to see whether the sellers stay in control or the buyers come back in seeing value around $40 and start to buy up the stock, taking the price back up, perhaps up to the peak of 46. And then if there is aggressive buying, we may even see a breakout. Now, if price does fall further this week and the sellers stay in control, if price falls through this level of $38, then it may find support around about this level here of around $35. And that will be the support of this trend line. And I think worst case scenario, if there's heavy selling and the trend line support doesn't hold, there is a chance that SMCI could head back down and test this key level here, $25. I do think overall this scenario is unlikely, and I think the most likely scenario is that this level of 38 may hold. I think the most likely scenario is that if SMCI falls further, it'll find support around this level of $38 and then start to move back up. It may be a few weeks before it starts to move to the top of this zone here and perhaps challenge that level of $47. So if you're holding SMCI for the long term, there's no reason to panic at all. If you're looking to enter this stock on confirmation, I still think a key level to enter would be above this level here, $48. And that would be based on Dow theory. So we've had this price retracement back into this trough here. It's created this peak here. It's come back to test this level of $38 a couple of times. It was moving up. It was heading up towards this level here before the news announcement yesterday regarding this new debt. So it has been sold off slightly to here, and it may fall further and test $38 once again. We just don't know yet. This is a real possibility. But to confirm entry for this stock and the buyers are back in control, we do need to see the price break above this level here and this peak here, $48. So this level here is where you want to see price move to get confirmation that the buyers are in control. Overall, since this big green bullish bar here, SMCI has been trading sort of within this range here, up and down. So if you wait for confirmation above 48 and enter this stock, what sort of potential is available? So your first target could be the key price level here of $66, which was created from this peak back in February 2025. And your stop loss could be this key level here of $38. So this would offer an initial risk to reward ratio of 2.1. And if price keeps going, then you could target this key level here of around $100, giving you 110% upside and a risk to reward ratio of just 6. And if SMCI keeps going all the way up to 122 and it challenges that all-time high, you've got a potential profit of 155%, and that might unfold over the next 3 to 6 months. We can see here that SMCI can move fast when it takes off. There was 3 weeks here where it moved up from this key level of $25 all the way up to 66. And that was an increase of 157%. So this stock can move when it wants to. However, moves like this are generally unsustainable. If you catch them, you're lucky. But a more sustainable move is that the price moves up in stages. Effectively, we want price to do something like this, move up in stages with pullbacks in between, and this is a more healthy, sustained move up to that target of 122. If we look on the monthly chart for SMCI, we can see the stock is trending upwards. I've got that trend line underneath these two key troughs for SMCI, which include November 2024, April 25, and also that low in May 25. So it does look as if this stock is moving up long term. Now, of course, with June, we've got a week to go, or basically 4 or 5 trading days to go before this month is up. So even if the price doesn't move up that much this month because of this 10% drop, it does look as if it might hold above this key level of $38, and it's going to trade above the trend line, which is a good thing. It does show that this trend looks as if it wants to keep going, and there's nothing major to worry about long term. Of course, in the next week, if price does move down and we see price trade below this trend line, yes, there's a possibility that SMCI might move lower. And on the monthly chart, in the big picture, this level of 25 would be that next key level of support. But overall, looking back on the weekly chart, I do think SMCI is still looking bullish, and this might be a temporary glitch in the price action. SuperMicro Computer had a strong week last week, increasing by around about 4%. It's up 13% in the last 4 weeks, and it's up 36% in the last 3 months. So SMCI is looking bullish. It is looking as if it wants to move higher, and there is a possible trade entry approaching soon. So in this video, I'm going to look at a price analysis for SMCI over the last few weeks and talk about some ideas of how you might enter this tech stock. Let's take a look. Now, if you find value in my analysis of SMCI stock today or other stocks on my channel, you might also find value in my email newsletter. If you subscribe, I'll send you professional trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. Link in the description below. Check it out. So last week, SMCI increased around about 4.1%. And you can see there was a green bar last week with price trading up from a low of around about $40. It did reach a high at one point of around $49, but there was some small selling pressure and price ended up closing at $47.58, just below this key level of $47.77. So for me, it didn't do enough last week to confirm an entry this week. It got close, there was buying interest, but that bar wasn't bullish enough for me to have confirmation for an entry this week. It's very close and it might break through this key level this week. So we'll see what happens. We can see, looking at the weekly chart for SMCI, the stock is looking bullish. It is moving up. And you can see I've added a trend line considering this price trough here of $17 from November 2024. And also I've included this price action here from April this year. So you can see that price is trying to move up. It's making higher highs and higher lows as SMCI trends up. Now we can see since this week here, which was a very bullish week for SuperMicro in that second week of May, price has been tracking sideways in the last 6 weeks. So you can see here that price is sort of tracking between $46 and $39. So you can see the close here and the close here around the same level. This close slightly higher, next week about the same level. 2 weeks ago, it did close a bit higher, moving up to this key level. And last week, it did open lower, but then close higher. So it does look as if SuperMicro is trying its best to move higher and break through this key level here. Now zooming out on the weekly chart for SuperMicro, we can see this stock is long-term bullish. We've got a beautiful trend from 2020 with price moving up gradually all the way up to this point here where there's a big surge during April 23. It moved up to this level here around about $26, and then it did consolidate for a number of months during this time here before there was a major breakout in the start of January 2024. Price surged up from around about $30 all the way up to create the current all-time high of 122. Now since that price peak, SuperMicro has been sold off heavily. It's fallen from this peak here into this significant low here of around $17. And since that low was formed in November last year, SMCI has been starting to move up over the last 6 months. It's starting to create higher highs and higher lows and trending up. So it's looking bullish now, and it does look as if it wants to move higher, potentially, up to this peak here of $66, and long term, medium term perhaps, push up to this level here and challenge 122. So $122 is the current all-time high for SMCI. So let's mark that up there. Now underneath that level, we've got this level here where SMCI did fall into after the price peak. It did fall into that level and find support around $66 before having a counter trend before falling away again. So 66 here and also 66 here could be a price level for resistance and support. So I'm going to mark that up. Now underneath that level, the next level of interest potentially is going to be this price peak here around $35. That's when SMCI had this surge back in 2023. It met resistance before it fell away and started to consolidate. So that might be another level to think about for the future. And underneath that level, we've got this price support level created at around $22. You can see after it surged up and then pulled back, it did find support here in September 2023 and also in October 2023. So I'll mark that one up as well. And you can see already I've marked up that level of $17 here, which corresponds to this price trough created in November 2024, so around 6 months ago. And since that price trough, we can see that SuperMicro has been moving up steadily. It moved up here to create this peak around $48. It pulled back to create this higher base. It really surged in these 3 weeks here to create the $66 peak before it was sold off. But once again, it did create a higher base, showing that the buyers were still coming in. Now, since this point, it traded up and created this previous sort of price peak of $48. It looks as if since this time, it has pulled back to around about this level of around about $38. But it hasn't fallen underneath that key level. So it does look as if $38 is offering some level of short-term support. And of course, last week, price for SMCI did trade above this key price level of $47 for a few days before price closed underneath the line. So we can see at the moment, SuperMicro is struggling to get above this key level here of $48. And that for me is a key price level. I want to see price break above that to confirm a possible entry for this stock, and then look at a target of $66 for perhaps a take profit target. Now what's interesting on this stock is that it is long-term bullish. We've had this pullback, and it does look as if now the stock is trending up, and we've got that confirmed trend line on the chart, confirming it is making higher highs and higher lows. Now what's also interesting is that if we look at this price peak here, and also this price peak here of $66, we can see that the price is compressing over the last 6 months. And by connecting those price peaks starting here in March 24 and also including July 24 and more recently Feb 25, we can see we do have this bullish flag pattern emerging. And as I'm sure you're aware, when you have these types of patterns emerging, when the price is being compressed towards the end of the flag, price is going to break out either way. Sometimes it can break out to the upside or it can break to the downside. So based on this flag pattern, we've got an element of resistance here at this sort of key level. It does correspond with that level of $48. So what might happen is, based on the price action, we've got SMCI trading up. We've got it making a higher base. We've got it making a higher peak. It's fallen back to find support here at around $27 in line with the trend line. It's now moved up. It's had a smaller pullback. Sellers were only able to push it down to around $39. And now last week, it's tried to break out above this level, but it's failed. It's closed just under. So it's not quite certain yet whether SMCI has got the strength to push higher and the buyers are going to come in and take this up. Now, if we do get a breakout of this flag pattern, what we should see in the next few weeks is lots of buyers coming in, showing conviction that they want to take the price higher. And we're going to get a big green bar potentially that's going to break out above this pattern. So once we have a green bar that closes high above this key level and potentially above this upper trend line, that'll give you the confidence that the buyers are in control and they want to take the price higher. And based on the price action over the last 6 months, particularly over the last 3 months, it does look bullish. It does look as if SMCI wants to move higher and potentially move towards this first price target of $66, corresponding to this previous peak here. And after that, you could think about the 122 level as a target. Potentially, you could reduce that to around $90, and that would correspond to this choppy price action back here, where SMCI did trade down, had a counter trend back up before being sold off. So this area here, it might offer some level of resistance when price starts to move up. Of course, that's the bullish scenario, which I'd love to see unfold. I'm sure you would as well. But also, we've got to think about risk management. We've got to think about the downside. What happens if SMCI gets rejected exactly where it is, and $48 is just, this level is too strong, and sellers come in and start to sell off this stock? So what we might find is price action does something like this. It's moved up, it's pulled back, it's moved up again, it's pulled back, it's moved up to challenge this level, it's been rejected, it's been sold off slightly, and now perhaps this week it might find resistance there, and it gets sold off back down to the trend line around $35. And if that trend line doesn't hold and there's not support there, then potentially we might have a little mini rally. It might try again to break 48. It might come halfway. If it does come up here and get rejected, then it might break this line here, and then the next obvious level of support would be this level here of $22. So this is possible for SMCI if it gets rejected at this level. Now, based on the price action, I think the bullish scenario is more likely, but we just don't know. You've got to protect your downside with a stop loss and think about how you're going to allocate your money in terms of your position size. So based on my analysis, where do I think could be a good entry for SMCI stock over the next few weeks? I do think a good entry would be at this price level of around $48, corresponding to this line here. So what I want to see is for price to close for the week, a strong close above the week, above this key level. So potentially this week or the next week, or maybe in 3 or 4 weeks' time, I want to see a big green bullish bar break above this level here and perhaps close around about maybe $50 to $55. That would give me the conviction that the buyers are in control and they want to keep on pushing towards 66. So in theory, if price does break above these key lines here and perhaps closes at around $55 for a particular week in the next few weeks, you could take an entry the following week on confirmation. And if you were to enter around $55, the first obvious target for profit taking would be the $66 level, which corresponds to the price peak back here. And you could set your initial stop loss at this key level here of $48. So that would give you an initial risk to reward ratio of 1.52, and profit on offer is 20%, so a decent setup. And of course, if price keeps going and it breaks this key level of 66, and let's say you set a target of around $90, corresponding to the price action back here, that would give you around a 65% profit on offer, risk to reward of 4.79. And if it keeps going, the buyers remain in control and it trades up to the all-time high of 122. You're looking at around about 120% profit, risk to reward of 8.84. So There is a good trade set up on offer here if you're patient and you wait for confirmation. So overall, SMCI stock is looking good, looking bullish. It does look as if it wants to move higher. We've got a confirmed trend line going up. We've got that bullish flag pattern. And it does look as if price can break out and perhaps we can get an entry around 55 on confirmation. It's setting up nicely for a high profit trade. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you in this trade already? Are you still looking at SMCI for the future? I'm keen to learn from you. Thanks for watching.